Good afternoon. So what we're going to talk about this afternoon is moving beyond SSO and actually starting to take control of the cloud. If we look at the huge paradigm shifts that have happened in the last few years, whether it's big data, cloud, social, and mobile, that represents a huge paradigm shift for us. All of us who work in business. But also a tremendous business opportunity in that data has never been as available today as it has been. But while it represents a huge business opportunity, it represents a huge threat as well, because data has never been as available as it is today. So the world's changed, but why hasn't security? We're still trying to do things in the old way. We're still using proxies and VPNs and next-generation firewalls. Well, great, but these are perimeter technologies, when in reality, your perimeter is evaporating every day. Your users are mobile. There's something slightly nonsensical about forcing your users back into the network to go out again to authenticate to applications in the cloud. People have tried to do things with endpoint agents, but the reality there is that the devices that you're trying to secure are changing on a weekly or monthly basis. And with the rise of BYOD, you don't even own those devices anymore. So, that's a struggle. And then, of course, you look at things like application layer security. Well, that's fine if it's your own application, but if it's a third-party SaaS application, good luck with that. It's not going to work. So effectively, a new approach is really needed today. Let's look at some of the other challenges that organizations face. So, shadow IT. I think we're all experiencing shadow IT to a certain degree. Because SaaS applications are easy to acquire, it means that departments can go out and buy whichever CRM they need without any consultation to IT. We're seeing HR systems being deployed purely by HR without any recourse to IT. One of the banks that we've worked with told us that they'd found that they had 12 instances of Salesforce. Nobody knew anything about it in IT. And you imagine the sort of sensitive data that's actually being stored on these devices. And likewise, with the rise of mobility, how do you secure access from mobile devices as well? So these are just some of the challenges. Then, of course, look at things like compliance. Compliance is becoming more and more of an issue for organizations today. You don't have to be purely in the financial sector to actually have compliance regulations applied to you. When you're using SaaS applications, you're outsourcing your data. You're also outsourcing your control. But you can't turn around to a regulator and say, well, actually, it's Salesforce's problem because our data's there. It's not. The absolute onus is still on you to prove accountability. When you're moving to a lot of these SaaS applications, you're basically using the security model that you get given, which in some cases might be fine, but generally you're having to downsize your security model to a one-size-fits-all. And if you're starting to look for forensics with most of these cloud applications, well, good luck with that. You're not going to get a lot of that. You've got very limited monitoring, logging, and alerting. The other challenge that organizations are facing today, and really this is down to the multiplicity of different applications that users have to access. Typically, Microsoft reckoned that we have an average of 25 passwords. The more passwords we have, the weaker they become, in that we write them down, we reuse the same passwords. And that represents a huge security risk. Passwords are still critical, but having too many of them results in reduced strength, and the good old post-it note syndrome. The amount of people I talk to today that are having to write down their passwords. People keep spreadsheets with all their passwords in. So that's a huge challenge. You've also got productivity issues as well. The time spent logging into various applications eats up time and costs an organization money. And when we talk about costing money, password resets are hugely expensive for organizations today. It's quite interesting. You look at the LinkedIn top 5 passwords. Job, God, work, 1, 2, 3, 4, and link. They're not exactly hard to crack, are they? So if we're going beyond SSO, where next? What else do you need to think about? Well, you really need to think about capturing all user activity. These aren't your own applications. They're not on-premise. They're out in the cloud. You need to understand what users are actually doing. You need to be able to audit. You need to be able to gain insight for compliance and for regulations. You also need to be able to analyze the use of high-risk features and functions, things like download and share. Who can attach files? Who can export data? And of course, you've got those privileged users that you don't really need to forget. So you need to define a policy. You'd be able to monitor that policy, monitor use of those applications, and block where appropriate. And obviously, you review and you refine your policy. And you've got to include new applications as they come along as well. And you need to be able to do that quickly. When we talk about speed, the days of year or 2-year-old, 2-year-long deployments are gone. You're going to struggle to get those signed off. The business needs to show a tangible ROI inside a year. If you can't show that inside a year, you will struggle. You need to be able to implement quickly. So where does that take us to? Well, our approach is radically different. We start with a browser. And why do we start with a browser? Well, the browser is the logical intersection between the user, the application, and the device. So by securing the browser, the device itself becomes irrelevant. BYOD, who cares? BYOA, your application, who cares? If you're in the browser, you see everything the user sees and everything the user does. And you capture a complete audit trail, regardless of encryption. The browser itself is the new endpoint. So how do we actually deliver things, and how do we make it different? Well, with SaaS ID, our time to value is extremely fast. We're talking about deploying in organizations in days rather than weeks, months, or years. So your time to value can be measured in days. We deliver a dynamic, personalized portal for our users. So the users only get access to the applications that they require, the applications that are delivered based on their job role or function. The second thing we do is what we call application feature control. And this is where we've got the ability to control role-based access control to specific features and functions within any browser-based application. Without any recourse to an API or any coding in the back end, we can do this for any web application. So, do you need your salespeople to be able to export your sensitive data? Probably not. We can remove that functionality. Should the call center operatives be able to see credit card pans? Probably not. So we can gray those out and redact them. We can remove specific tabs. So, for example, in Salesforce, you might not want everybody having chatter in Salesforce. So we can remove access to just the chatter tab. So effectively, any element of any web page can be customized and modified for your specific organization or users within that organization. And the last and probably most important thing is actionable intelligence. We're talking about cloud applications here. These are applications that you don't own, are delivered by a third party, and you have very little visibility of their use. With SaaS ID, we give you a single pane of glass into all of your web applications. So you can see who accessed what, where, and when, regardless of location or device. So we provide a very detailed audit trail across your whole web application estate, delivered in minutes, and very, very user-friendly in its operation. So that's SaaS ID. That's what we do. We're presenting today with our partners Imtech. So we're outside. We have a stand. So please come along and have a look. Ask us any questions you like, and thank you very much for listening.